Here we go with round 1, and I just decided to go first because our deck is kind of slow and doesn't really have good ways to stabilize the board, which is important if you want to draw first. Now we don't have a red source for the goblin here, but the rest looks okay. Even though it's kind of slow, I think our creatures are quite efficient and the mana is also nice, so I'm not going to mulligan. And the real question is if I drop this on turn 1. I could draw into one of the gating creatures and the Quicksilver Dagger. And it's, well, on turn 5 I probably have other stuff to do with this kind of deck, so I'm just going to play it out, even though it seems pretty awful. It doesn't, well, it's just a 1/1 for 1. It's probably the first mistake I make here. The main argument is really Cavern Harpy and the Crocodile. That was a nice draw. We are pretending to be a black-blue aggressive deck here. I'm not much better, but I'm not going to tell you that. What did he discard? Okay. That doesn't look too bad. He does have islands, so Slingshot Goblin might be doing a pretty good job. Sadly, we aren't going to do anything else. But from now on, every land we draw is good. And we do have quite a lot of cards we can cast for 3 mana. So he has the fixing, looking to be in bunt colors, maybe 5 color, if he plays cards like this. But this could also be his inexperience, so we can't really say for sure. Now the big stuff comes out, probably. But the way I remember this format, there actually isn't that much which is incredibly large. So even the rare creatures aren't that powerful, simply because this is another era, basically. Okay, I kept forgetting that this doesn't really do anything. It doesn't add mana, so he can't even drop a 6-drop. But he does destroy one of my lands. If I draw a mountain, everything is fine, though. And we aren't overly reliant on the second swamp. I think we don't need it at all. So I think there's a story about one of the invitationals where Carlos Romero tried to cast this multiple times, but it never worked because somehow he always targeted creatures where, well, it just didn't work. You probably can find this somewhere on the net. It's interesting that our opponent isn't doing anything, so maybe he really doesn't have anything, or he's preparing something dangerous. Now, of course, at this point, it would be better to have this kicked. And we also drew something else to return with the gating creature, which we didn't draw. So, really, really difficult to say. It's nice that he has 2 utility creatures out, which means that the first big creature he drops is going to be susceptible to Dead Ringers. But he has all the mana in the world and isn't casting anything, so maybe it's more cards like this. Armadillo Cloak would be a nice card to have here. But of course he has to be also kind of scared of my hand. I think I'm just going to play out of all of these. I'm not expecting discard from him, and I want to sacrifice my lands, or maybe if I draw Fact or Fiction, want to be able to keep on with my land drops. But I have to say this matchup... Oh, okay. Something is happening. Flying and First Strike on a 1/4. So there's probably another trick up his sleeve. He does have another green mana. But he... Okay. Yeah, this didn't work out for him. He somehow didn't block, I believe. I suppose not everybody playing in these drafts is highly competitive. This this is actually a quite nice card. I like that it's going to reduce his chances to draw out of this by quite a bit. If he drops a really good creature, I can exchange control. Although he has access to 2 blue, so that's probably not true what I just said. Which means that I should probably board this out. But even it's still a card that you can use yourself first, so it might have some uses. Or you can maybe I can destroy it after the exchange happened, or in response to him trying to exchange stuff. Now, this wasn't really exciting, but can't change that. So I think we saw some interesting things. For example, that we probably won't need the defensive cards. He didn't really do anything in this regard. I like the Infiltrator still, and the Zombie is the only card I dare to cut with my gating creatures. So Cinch looks like a nice card to add, but we had some trouble with the red mana in our deck, so maybe we do have to play another Mountain, in fact, reducing our island count by another one. But the red doesn't seem too important, also not too important for the curve, so I think Lava Zombie might make a good addition here, just as a way to add more pressure. And then I'm going to take out the zombie, and because I added a red card, I'm going to play one more Mountain, which is like the upper bound I'm willing to go, but 6/6/4/1 with Reef Shame still sounds reasonable. And I'm expecting to be on the draw, so my mana should be a little better also. Cinch is another possibility, but I don't want to constrain my mana too much, so this doesn't screw him, so it's not really an option. And well, I'm really not that happy with this guy, but it's still a black creature that gets return power, guys. Should be better than this. Yeah, let's just try it. Now this time we do have red and blue mana, but no black mana. But this hand looks reasonable. Turn 1 is really the best time to play this anyway. And we could regenerate the airship or use play Dead Ringers. Okay, he has quite a quick start. And the weakness of our hand is that we aren't doing anything in the early turns of the game. But it doesn't look like he's using his Familiar this turn, which is, well, giving us another turn, and means that we are going to be able to drop the airship and then hopefully draw into a black source. He's also at least 3 colors, so it could be possible that he has green cards in hand. I'm not going to play around anything here. I don't even know what's in the... Well, of course there's Exclude and Repulse, but I can't sit here and not do anything, so... So now his spells are almost free. Not that it matters. Swamp would be really nice. I don't want to sacrifice this yet, just to play something like this. Who knows how long it's going to be active. Deadringers is still not castable. Well, of course I could destroy my own creature, but that's not really the plan. And I'm going to go on the offensive here. I think I don't have to worry about anything. It's possible that I should have used the Crevice to power out the Reaper, but I wanted to see what he does first. Now this could mean some elves, but I hope not. No. So it's a 2/2 trample. Another reason why I want to keep this is because it adds the second black for Duskwalker, and I need all the lands I want if I want to use Magma Burst at some point. This could be nice, but I'm just going to sit here with my spells and my uncastable creatures. I did cut another island for the mountain, so drawing 4 of the remaining 6 in my deck is not the best, but nothing we can change. And it looks like he's attacking with his 2/2 into my 2/3, and I'm happy to block there. I even have green mana to regenerate, so I'm probably just going to Jilt whatever he does. Flying in first strike. So I'm going to bounce the Familiar because he can't cast it this turn and deal some damage, leaving open the mana to regenerate. Now it's certainly possible that he has another trick there, but it's not really risky for me to play like this. Jilt isn't a card that handles everything, so I'm not really losing much with regards to my options. And a Swamp would be really nice, but this is also a nice card. I'm not expecting him to have anything here that stops the dagger. And I'm going to use it immediately, even though it's going to cost me some life, just because of the chance to draw into lands. Now that's interesting. I could use Fact or Fiction sacrificing this, but I don't think that's worth it. I can still do it end of turn, which means I would lose the... Which would mean I would lose the mana, well, the land drop I could get from Fact or Fiction, but the problem is if you are screwed on a color, then it's actually quite easy for your opponent to make a rather nice, not rather nice piles for him. This creature can get Shroud, okay. Not a problem. And another mountain. So if we cast Fact or Fiction now, we won't have any great plays, but we are more likely to find a swamp and play it. Which means we can also just drop Duskwalker for the zombie next turn. It's also kind of difficult, or it used to be kind of difficult to arrange Fact or Fiction piles. At least that's what I remember from the very early days. So I think people didn't know how the UI worked, and as a result, they oftentimes did 5-0 splits. So yeah, this split is nice because I always get a swamp out of the deal, and Infiltrator and Goblin both look better than the Toad. So is this a foil swamp? Am I playing? No. This is really interesting. No, it was only looking foil in the Fact or Fiction. Who knows? And the nice thing is that we don't even have to discard, but we could actually go for the Infiltrator here. It's not mana efficient if we want to drop Lava Zombie, but okay, we do have quite a lot of options. We could actually go for Slingshot Goblin. That seems like the best card, just because once it's active, it's going to shoot his stuff. Yeah, so. If he decides to attack with both of his flyers, we are going to have to decide what to do with the airship. At 16 life, it's probably safest to just take it and not give him a way to play one of his other combat tricks. Also, the way his deck is set up and the way he's playing, I don't expect him to attack if he doesn't have anything. Now that he's played a second blue creature, there isn't even a reason to suicide this, because it would die anyway. I believe this game is almost over, but it's going to take quite a lot of turns until it's really over, until it's finished. The Reef Shame could actually be quite useful here. I want the Lava Zombie in play because he doesn't have a blocker for it, a good blocker yet. So if I spend 4 mana on Duskwalker and the zombie, I can still drop this. And then I'm going to kick the Duskwalker next turn. This can be used to deny white mana. He has green because of the elf. And beginning next turn, we can just keep open removal spells and maybe drop one or two more creatures. So this can be pumped. It's possible that we should have picked a second dagger. I mean, in this matchup, it's almost unbeatable for him. Okay, it looks like our opponent is agreeing with our assessment of the game state. Yeah, I mean, if you only drop 1/1s and 2/2s and we are geared to play a longer game, then that's not really what you want to be doing. I mean, it's perfectly fine to play an assortment of these cards, but then you need to have some 5 and 6 drops or whatever to really drive home the mana advantage and the tempo, and it doesn't work if you just continue with these cards. And our deck performed quite well. The mana wasn't perfect, but that was to be expected. So I'm looking forward to round 2.